to video.
Yay. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Now these are made on the wheel, but I'm gonna show you variations in hand building, a nice way to do these. And these flower vases are used by, just take that. Is it all right if, can we handle that? All right. These flower vases are used for hanging on the wall, putting a little simple composition, maybe just one branch kind of beautifully moving in a flower, maybe a little greenery, but nothing too complicated. And often these are used in what's called the tokonoma, which is it's the little alcove in a tea house. And it's where they have some little flower arrangement for contemplation before tea. And so that's one way of using them. I also find them, like this one is sitting outside my office door. I find it a good way to start the day and to set a tone and to just kind of take a moment to contemplate beauty. And that's what these are for. So that's what they are. I'm going to show you a variation for this in hand building. It's quite fun. We'll set these aside. Get a little clay.
Here from Marc Lancet, it's very well.
Oh, it is very well, isn't it? Okay, we'll just line him down here. And I'm just going to grab some clay to start with. And let's see, we're going to start with this. And what I want to do to start with is I want to make a big round kind of just like a big round piece of clay stock, like a solid piece of cylindrical clay. That's my first step. And it might be nice to leave a little bit of this textural kind of quality, not to get it perfectly round. We'll see if that works out for us. So we're going to just start. And the length that I make this will determine the actual size of the piece. This will be the length of the piece. You know, it'll shrink, of course, but that's determined, and that doesn't change through the process. And then the width of it, how big around this thing is, that's going to change as we go. So we're going to start with something like this. And that looks pretty good to start with. And then I'm going to take, this is just a dowel, and I've sharpened one end. And so what I need to do is I need to get this right in the middle, and then I need to push this so that it ends up going right through the middle here. I want to see it kind of show up right there. We go. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. Right in the middle there. So kind of like, you know, just like a hot dog for a barbecue, or maybe a marshmallow on steroids there. So, and I'm going to just take this and push it against the table a little bit and turn it a little bit, just to make it a little bit larger. And that way I can get just a little bigger dowel, and that's going to give me more control for this next step. And here is the step. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, pushing against the table, and then holding the dowel so it doesn't turn. I'm basically kind of extruding the clay through the dowel. I mean, between the dowel and the table, it's just squeezing and compressing and thinning out the clay and making it into a tube. You can see it's a tube. Isn't that nice? So that's the start of this, and I could keep going if I want it to be a little bit wider. This is pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with this thickness. So the next step is it needs a top for sure, or a bottom, and maybe it needs a top. So let's take a little more clay. Scoring tool should be right. I'm just going to make this into a ball. I'm just going to make a little ball here. And that works really nicely. Now this first one, I'm going to make a couple of them for you. This first one, I'm going to put a top and a bottom on it. So you can see how that works. So I'm just going to score this. Scoring is our friend. Lots of scoring. And then we'll apply some slip. And the 3 steps of joining are always scoring, slip, and then press. The press is really important. So you have to make sure that you get a good compression on there. And there's different ways to do it. Here's one. This works. That's really nice. That's on there now. That's not going anywhere. And then I can just trim off any excess. And then what I can do is, this is kind of a neat trick. I just roll it a little bit. And that makes it kind of nice and soft on the top. And then I can roll it this way too. And there's the first one. Now, for this version, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do it on this side too. So I'll make a completely enclosed tube. We know we can't leave it that way. We have to get air in here eventually. But what we're going to do is we're going to use that trapped air to our benefit for a little while. It's called an air armature, right? When you completely trap air inside a piece. So now, make another little piece here, and it's a little bit good. So just going to score that. And we just go through the same motions. Once I get this on here, then it's all going to be, then it gets kind of exciting and fun. Look at this. And so put this on. Here's my, oops. And it would probably be better not to do this while it's sitting on the table, because if I do it while I'm holding it, then I'm not compressing, I'm not flattening the bottom anymore than I have to. So I'll just go like this. Now it is completely encapsulated. There's trapped air here, and I'll show you what the advantage of that is. This is how, though the piece I showed you from Estonia, I made that on the wheel. It was also a case of trapped air. So we'll go here. Just taking off the excess clay. We're going to do that finishing thing we did also. And this will start to act like a bit of a balloon. So if I push on one side, if I push on this side, it goes out that way. So that's kind of a nice aspect of it. So it's really holding together beautifully. And I'm just working so that I get rid of any excess kind of evidence of the joining. I can use my rib here to get rid of some of that. And I'm just working it down. It's nice if you don't have clay sitting around on your table. Get stuck. Clean that up. I'll just do one more little roll here. So now the decorating there's a couple more things to do. So you can't put any flowers in this, right? It's completely closed, right? But the way this one was made, I threw this on the wheel and then closed it. It was a ball, complete ball. And then I took it and I slammed it down on the board. And that made it into this kind of beautiful, soft round thing. And I can do that here. I just take this and I slam it down, and you can see the sides get really soft and puffy. And now also it's got an orientation to the wall, right? Well, I don't want to open up anything in here until I've got all the work I want to do on it. So I'm going to make a kind of gesture on here too. And here's a piece of wood we just made on the splitter, right? So it's useful for us. I'm just going to make a mark like that. And that just adds some interest. So I can think about what's top, what's bottom. And then, so there's a couple things to do. Normally, I would let this get leather hard, and then I would cut in size a little window and snap it out. But because, just for this demonstration, I want you to see it, I can still keep doing some shaping here. One thing is I kind of like to kind of give this a little bit more movement. There's no need, it's not going to stand flat. So it's going to hang on a wall. So it's kind of nice if I can create a bit of action movement here. So that's just something I do to them. Very subtle, just a little bit. And then what else I'll do here is, and here's an example of that. You can see with this piece, you can see that it has a little bit of where my hand just kind of popped it there to give it a little bit. This was thrown on the wheel, but it could have been made easily this way. So the next step is I want to give it, the flowers that go in. So I could have kept it open like that one, and I'll do one like that in just a minute. But here, I'm just going to think about, okay, I want a window for flowers. So I'm just going to do a kind of a cut here. And I could make it circular, I could make it square, I could make it round, it would be circular. And I could, this I'm doing a triangle. I would recommend trying all of those things. And what I would normally do is just cut it partially through and then push it. But in this case, because it's so soft, I'm just going to cut it out completely. Take the clay right out. So I won't get that deckled edge that I like to get. But that's okay. So here's where the flower will go. Right there. There's where the flower, there's the flower. Flowers will go in there. And then right about here, a little bit down from the top, that's the opening for hanging. And I can either make it big enough so that a can go in there, or what I like to do is use a cotter pin, and I wrap it around a rusted piece of chain, just a little chain that is just a link. And then so that makes a hook, put it through a rusted washer, because rusting, making it look kind of old and kind of shibui in the Japanese term, just having a weathered look to it. So a little rusted washer goes on the outside, cotter pin goes through there, and then I take a pliers on the inside and curl it so it can't come out anymore. Pass it in. Cotter pin, you know what that is? Do you know what that looks like? A cotter pin, looks here, I can just paint it right on the table here. A cotter pin is a metal piece that has two pieces that go like this, and then it has a little round part at the top. And they're about this big and they're very thin. You can get them all sizes, but I get one about this long, and it has two long segments. Can you see this, what I did there? It's two long sides and then a round part. It's used in car mechanics and different joining things. And then you can get them at any hardware store. And then they're flexible. I open them up, I put in that chain link and then close it. And I'll bring in some examples. I just don't have them with me. So there's, that one's just about done. There's always one more thing to do, which is take your delicate little signing tool here, and I sign my name. And you want to do this because, especially on these things that I demonstrate, if you try them and everybody might try the kind I demonstrated, and then they're going to look kind of the same. So you want to make sure you have a very distinctive, clear signature. Because our rule is, you know what our rule is? If you're not sure, it's not yours. So you want to be sure. So we'll just do one more. And you can play with dimensions. You can make it thinner, you can make it longer, you can make it shorter. You can coil build them, you can make them rounder. Got all kinds of options. So this one might be a little bit longer. And the challenge is really getting this to go through the middle, which is pretty important. So, making sure you take the time and do your best to really orient that so that it gets through, right through the middle. And then if it doesn't look like it's going exactly through the middle, you want to back it up and bring it back through so that you pretend it always was in the middle. That's pretty good. And then, again, I'm going to open it up just a little bit. And that allows me, you can imagine, this is, it's important to have, to have a little larger dowel is a little bit more stable for this next process. It is possible when you have a narrow dowel and you're trying this technique because you're pushing down and dragging it without letting this turn. So it's squeezing the clay through. And when you're doing that, it's quite possible to just push this right through the clay. So because it's thinner, the thicker it is, the harder it is to make that mistake. So now I'm just going to take this and I'm pushing it down against the table. And I want to get a nice kind of squeezing, turning. And I don't have to do it all in one pass. I can do it in a couple of passes. And yeah, so that's looking pretty good. And if this is going to be, so this is going to be one, I like the way it kind of makes this nice swelling in here. I'm going to keep that. This is going to be one where the top is going to be open. So I'll spend a little time with this, getting the opening, kind of making it smooth. And I can do more of this when it's leather hard. I can really refine this. But just get a little bit of smoothness going there. And then I just need a bottom. So again, I'll take a little bit of clay, make a ball. And this one I'm not going to throw down on the table and flatten out because it's, first of all, I'm only going to do the top. So there won't be, I'm only going to put a base in it. There won't be a closed bit of clay. And I kind of like the cylindrical kind of swelling this piece has already. So I think it's already kind of looking nice. And you may see that as you work, each one's going to come out a little different. I guess I'll put this down and do that. Back to slipping. Any questions, comments, thoughts so far?
How big a cylinder can you make with that dowel technique?
It depends on how big a dowel you have. And, there's a Yoshio Taylor used to teach, I think, at American River College. He's retired now, but he makes these large, he makes slightly larger than life-size figures, kind of they're Japanese, kind of futuristic looking figures. They're really wonderful. But the arms are about as long as a human arm, maybe even longer. And he does each of those segments this way. So you can get quite large. So now, take that same technique. Let's see about rolling. And I kind of like see that natural kind of flow on the bottom there, the way that moves. It's kind of nice there. So I'm not going to change that at all. I'm just going to put my little hole in here for hanging. And then. Now, do I normally do a bold signature like this across the, I usually if it's a standing vase, it'll be on the bottom or just at the side, not too big, but this is gonna hang against the wall. So it's fine. So here are the two pieces that I've just made. So this is one that will hang on the, and this is the other. So that is how to make by hand hanging flower vases. And